Hello and welcome to a new week of meals. I am jumping right in here with a cottage pie. I've got my organic ground beef I got on clearance for $2 a pound. I'm using 3 pounds of this. We've got a sort of Bible study, well, not a Bible study, but we've got friends coming over in the evening, and I'm making dinner for everybody. So I am just peeling some Yukon Gold potatoes that I actually got on clearance as well. It's 99 cents for all of these potatoes. I just cut off the not so pretty bits. And I am just going to store this in the fridge until I'm ready. That's one onion also diced, again, into the refrigerator until I'm ready to cook later in the day. Here we are, I'm heating up some olive oil, and those are the onions I'm putting in here. Just going to start to sweat those out and cook those a little bit. And then I'm going to also add some mixed vegetables. Now, normally I would just do peas and carrots, but I didn't have any, so I had mixed veg. So this is a little extra bonus. It's got some corn and some green beans in here. So just going to add that here and start to cook those. Recipe for anything that I have a link for will be down below in the description box. You can see off to the side I've got my ground beef that I'm just seasoning with salt and pepper here, cooking that through, and then I'm going to assemble this shortly. Once the veggies have started to cook a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add some minced garlic, and then I'm also going to add a bit of tomato paste here, and then I'm going to add a bit of flour. So the flour is going to help this thicken a little bit as it cooks down, so it's not too soupy when we put the cottage pie together. So I'm going to make sure the flour is all mixed throughout, as well as the rest of the ingredients, and I'm going to let the flour cook out a little bit. I'm going to switch out to a different spatula because this was just a little bit messy here. And then once that's all thoroughly combined, I'm going to add the ground beef. You're going to need a big pot for this. Again, I used 3 pounds of ground beef, so this makes quite a lot, and I had a lot of filling left over, so you might want to halve the recipe, but it was still good. And then I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil here. I thought the ground beef was a little bit on the less fatty side, so I did decide to add a little bit of oil to this. Time for some liquid. This is some beef bouillon that I've added with water, and I'm just going to mix that through. Make sure that the flour is like dissolving and all of that. And then this is some Worcestershire sauce. Got a lot of black pepper here, and then I'm going to add some bay leaves. So that's just going to cook in that and simmer down, and then when we're done with the filling, I'm going to pull the bay leaves out so that nobody eats them. Quick little taste test here. I think I forgot to mention earlier that there is a little bit of thyme in here as well. I'm just going to do a little taste test just to initially see what this all tastes like. It's going to simmer away for quite a while now. I think something like 45 minutes. You really want to reduce it, thicken everything up. You're going to do that without the lid so that it kind of, evaporates and things like that and can thicken up for the filling. I decided to add a little bit more thyme here. You can see as I'm stirring it around, it is thickening up a little bit already. And then I'm also going to add some Worcestershire sauce and some additional seasonings that I thought it needed, so more black pepper. I've actually got some onion powder as well as some garlic powder. Fish out the bay leaves now that this is pretty much ready to go. I've got the 3 bay leaves, make sure I get them all out, and then I'm just going to set that aside to start to cool, and as it cools it will thicken. I'm turning my attention now to the potatoes. The potatoes that are going to go on top. I've cut them up in large chunks, and I'm starting them off in a pot of cooled salted water. I'm going to boil that until they're tender. And you can see the filling is nice and thick now that it's starting to cool off. could have done the potatoes while the meat was cooking, but we have a limited number of burners that work, so I just decided to do it later. Now that the potatoes have had a chance to sort of dry off a little bit, I'm mashing them, and you get this to your liking, make it as nice and smooth as you like. So I'm going to put this together and add the rest of the ingredients. I decided to omit the cream or the milk component. I wanted it just really nice and kind of just simple. So I'm just going with butter and salt and pepper. Oh, it looks like I'm adding a little bit of nutmeg here just to enhance the flavor. And sorry, I don't think I added salt. It looks like I just did some black pepper. So do the mashed potatoes as you like. Season it the way you like. If you like the texture a little bit different, add a little milk to make it a little bit more loose. But this is what I just did here. I just did the Yukon Golds with some butter. I'm going to taste it and see if it needs anything. And there is the filling now in the baking dish. As I mentioned earlier, I had a lot of filling, so I took what was left over and what couldn't fit in the dish, and I just set it aside for a later date. Some nice leftovers, and then I'm just taking the mashed potatoes and layering up top. Once this is all layered, I'm going to take a fork to this just to kind of smooth out the top a little bit, and so it makes nice little ridges for serving. And then I'm going to put this into the oven to cook per the instructions. I completely should have put this on a baking sheet, like a rimmed baking sheet, so that any spillage would have been caught on the sheet instead of the bottom of the oven. So that was my mistake. But nevertheless, I did put the baking tray into the oven underneath once this had already started baking. So that's pretty much ready to go now, and we're going to have a nice, delicious cottage pie. Unfortunately, I did not get any clips from the evening that we served it, but this is the leftovers. Our friends were over, so I was a little bit distracted, but it was really delicious. I would definitely make this again, and I also served it with a side salad. Next recipe I'm sharing is sort of like a copycat take on the Panda Express eggplant tofu dish. So I'm just going to take a block of extra firm tofu. I'm going to put it between some paper towels and weight it down so that I can sort of press the water from it. So I want to remove the water as much as I can from this. So I'm just going to do that for maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, replace the paper towel so that I can get as much of that water out of the tofu. Once this is ready, I'm going to cut this into cubes, and then I'm going to create a little marinade so that we can kind of season the tofu. It's pretty flavorless, but it does soak up a lot of flavor. So that's just what I'm doing here, is prepping the tofu. I'm adding some extra virgin olive oil to my skillet, and while that's heating up slowly, I've got a little marinade that I'm creating for the tofu so it could season it a little bit. So it's really just soy sauce and some sesame oil. I think I put a little bit of water just to thin it out a little bit so it's not so intensely salty. So I'm just adding the tofu very carefully, and then I'm going to toss that very carefully so it doesn't crumble. And then this is just going to sit a little bit as the oil comes up to temperature. I really just wanted to season the tofu because, it's, like I mentioned, it's just really bland. And we're going to get a lot of flavor from the sauce that I'm going to make a little bit later for the rest of the dish. Once the skillet is ready, I'm going to add just the tofu and not any of the excess liquid that's in the bowl. So I'm going to add that here, and then I want to get a nice, golden brown, kind of sear it a little bit, if you will, just again to get a nice texture on the tofu. Once I've gotten a nice sort of sear on most of the sides of the tofu, I'm just going to remove them and set them aside, and then I'm going to go ahead and prep the rest of the ingredients. I had some onion left over, so I've got actually one red onion and then one regular brown onion, and I'm just going to cut these up into large chunks. When they serve it at the restaurant, they're kind of in like, I don't know, 1 inch, 1 inch to 2 inch pieces. So that's what I'm doing here, and then I'm going to set this aside. I've got some bell pepper that I have prepped, so that is also going to go into this dish. But in the meantime, I'm going to set this aside until I'm ready to assemble everything. Now to the sauce for the dish. I didn't have the chili paste, so I sort of kind of winged it with what I had. So I've got some sweet chili sauce, I've got some oyster sauce, sriracha. I pulled out the onion powder and the garlic powder just in case. But this is really pretty much what I'm using. I'm gonna add a lot of this chili paste. This is the predominant sort of flavor, I guess, in the sauce. And then I'm adding that sriracha since I didn't have any of that chili paste. I also added some soy sauce, it looks like here, just to give it a little bit of some salt. And I'm going to mix that. I'm going to taste it, see if it needs anything else. And actually, it turned out really, really well. I think next time when I do this, I want to make a little bit more of the sauce. It actually really was quite flavorful in and of itself. We've got some oyster sauce here. And a little bit more soy sauce. So again, just mix it to your liking, see what you have, or just follow the ingredients per the instructions that I've linked down below. And I completely forgot my eggplant. This is called an eggplant tofu dish, so I cut that up into large chunks, sort of like the same size as the tofu and the rest of the ingredients. Those are the red bell peppers that I had cut up a little bit earlier, and I am ready to cook everything for dinner now. So we've got some oil. Heat that up. I'm going to add the onions so that has a chance to cook. I'm also going to add some minced garlic here, and I'm going to also add the red bell peppers since they kind of cook the same rate as the onions. So here we go. Here I'm going to add that. I'm going to toss this around, let it cook so it gets a little bit of color and the veggies are a little bit softened. I don't want them too mushy, so just to get a little bit of color on them. I'm adding the eggplant so that has a chance to cook. I will do this with the lid on so that that can cook down a little bit faster. There you go. I'm just going to move it around a little bit to make sure nothing is sticking, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the tofu so that I can combine all of these things together. We are pretty much in the home stretch. I'm just going to add the tofu and I'm going to add the sauce, and then that's going to be ready to serve for dinner. And you know me, I've got a taste test, so here I go. It was really good. It wasn't like exactly like Panda Express, but it was really delicious, really close. I didn't, as I mentioned, have all of the ingredients, but it was really good. Served that up with some rice, and I've got some garlic noodles. I'm going to show you the garlic noodles here. I have a different video that I go into detail, but I'm going to link the recipe below. But just here's sort of like a quick recap. Just going to cook some regular spaghetti noodles and then this sauce. It's really good, really simple, and the noodles are really tasty. So these are nothing like the chow mein noodles that you get at Panda, but this is my sort of like go-to recipe because it's really easy. So I'm just going to toss that together. I'm going to serve this with the rest of dinner. And this was just such a tasty, tasty takeout sort of dinner. Here is the finished dinner. So there's the eggplant tofu, and then I've got the garlic noodles served on this side. Also got some rice here, and then Colin is not a huge fan of tofu or eggplant. So I just cooked up some, what do you call them? They're like chicken veggie dumplings. These I just got from Costco. So I just steamed those up in my bamboo steamer, and that's exactly what he had. Dinner was so good tonight, and yeah, I'll do it again. Next night was super duper easy, just bagged a salad. So that was like the clearance $1 salad that I purchased earlier in the week. And then I've got some rotisserie chicken left over from Costco. So this is what I had here. And then the guys had burgers. So again, this was really, really easy. I'll show you in just a second. We're doing just plain old burgers on a bun, cheeseburgers, nothing fancy, ketchup, mustard, and mayo, whatever they wanted. And then again, more bagged salad. So that was the dinner for the next night. Next night, I had some things that I really just wanted to use up. So I've got some of the Italian sausage that I got on clearance. I had 3 more links, so I'm just cooking this. This is going to turn into a quiche. Yeah, I know, it's Italian sausage, and then I also had some leftover like kale and sweet potatoes that I wanted to use up. So again, these are things that I just didn't want to go bad, and I'm going to add them all together and throw them in a pie crust because hey ho, why not? It actually turned out really well. So just a little bit of sweet potato. I'm going to try to soften that, and then I'm going to add some chopped kale in just a second, and this is pretty much going to be the filling once I add the custard to the quiche. Just adding a bit of water here to help the kale cook a little bit more, and then that's just gonna wilt down just ever so slightly since this is gonna continue cooking in the oven. And that's pretty much done. I'm not adding any salt or pepper or anything. I mean, that Italian sausage has so much flavor to it. And then I'm going to add some, some of that seasoning to the egg custard mixture anyway. So this is pretty much ready to go. Just going to set it aside to kind of like hang out until I'm ready to put the quiche together. Now to the egg custard. I'm just going to go in with some eggs. Use as many as you like or need to fill your pie dish or pie crust. I think I've got 6 eggs, 5 or 6 eggs. I'm going to add some heavy cream, and then I'm going to also add some salt, of course, and some pepper, and then a bunch of other little things here. I've got some Asiago cheese off to the side. I think I've got some Parmesan cheese. It's going to be pretty simple, again, because the Italian sausage has got so much flavor to it already, but I've got some cheese. You gotta have cheese, right? So this is just leftover. Again, I'm just using all my leftovers that I can find, and then I'm just gonna add that to the pie crust once I've got the filling inside. And this is the pie crust I'm using. It's a deep dish. I found it in the frozen section. I think this was from Aldi as a 2-pack, so I just picked one of those up and I decided to use it for this. Nice and easy. So here's the filling. It's already cooled a bit because also I don't want the eggs to kind of cook or scramble. So I'm putting the filling in nice and cooled, and then I'm just going to add the egg to that, and then that's going to be ready for the oven. quiche is always such a great dish to just kind of have in your back pocket to throw together for dinner. You can add any fillings that you like. So this is one of my favorite sort of go-tos. I always either have like, you know, a pie crust that you roll out, from the refrigerated section just in the fridge, or I've got one of these deep dish things. But again, it's just so easy. You could also do a crustless quiche, so it's also just one of those go-to recipes that's not really a recipe. You can just kind of throw anything you want in there, and there that is ready to go into the oven. I'm just going to cook it at 350 until the egg is set. What is the word I'm looking for? Settled, cooked. Yeah. So it's not jiggly any longer, and the egg's fully cooked through. And that's what that looks like here. I was really, really impatient. I'm going to cut into this in just a second to show you what it looks like. But the egg had not set. I mean, it was cooked, but it was, because it was so hot, it was like really soft. So you'll just see I'm just going to make a mess on the kitchen table here. But it was really good, nice and tasty. It was really tasty. I like that I added the veggies in here to kind of balance the flavor out. So here, blah, big old mess. Yeah, good job, Rach. Anyway, so that is the finished dinner. It was delicious. I would have served this with a side salad, but I just, this was good just in and of itself. So yeah, that was very graceful, very, very graceful. There's a better look at the inside, but in just a second, I'm going to take another clip once it has had a chance to cool. I don't know why I just didn't wait, but I was hungry and it looked good and it smelled good, but here I am cutting into it now that it's nice and cooled. I'll just show you in a second. The crust was nice and flaky. Actually, this was a pretty good crust. It tasted good. But you can see, oh, look how nice and solidified that is. Isn't that lovely? So just be patient. But there it is right there. All those ingredients. So yummy. Last up, we've got pizza on the menu. I made the pizza dough like the day before, and I'll link the recipe below. It's from Giada De Laurentiis. So I put the dough into the fridge after the first rise. So here I'm just got my ingredients that I'm setting out here. I'm going to put this on the pizza pan for the second rise, and then I'll assemble it. So I'm not going to show, I didn't show you how I made the dough, but I did mine in my stand mixer. You can obviously make this by hand and knead the dough yourself. But so here we go. Here I'm just going to put the dough into kind of a ball shape so it's ready to go to spread out once it's had a chance to do its little thing and rise a little bit more. Just using that Ziploc that I had to kind of cover it so it doesn't go too dry, and then I'm going to let that sit for, I think I let it sit for almost an hour, maybe 45 minutes. You can see it kind of rose a little bit. I don't know if that was right or not, but it turned out just fine. And actually, once it came out of the oven, the dough was nice and it was really good. It was a good dough. I would do this dough again, and I would try it and cook it the same day just to see if it turns out the same. Because see, the dough is nice and loose here, so I've had a chance to spread it out on my pizza pan. I put a little bit of oil so that it wouldn't stick to me, and then it's got a little bit of oil on the dough itself since it was in that bag, a Ziploc bag with some dough. So just going to spread it out here, and then I'm going to put the toppings on. So this is going to be Colin's pizza. I didn't have any pizza sauce. I didn't have regular marinara sauce, so I had arrabbiata sauce. So it's a little on the spicier side, but it tasted really good. Had some good flavor. It is a little, it's a little watery because it's not like a thicker pizza sauce. I think next time, well, again, I mentioned I didn't have any of the other sauces that I wanted to use, but it would really be better with like a thicker pizza sauce or like a tomato paste, or maybe if I could have reduced that down just to make it a little bit thicker. But it was good, had some nice flavors. So I'm just going to spread that on. I'm just going to put some garlic powder on this as well, just to, kick up the flavor a little bit. And then I've also got some mozzarella cheese. So this is some fresh mozzarella cheese that I got on clearance. I'm just going to add that to here. And then I'm going to put some Italian seasoning on top of that. Just sprinkle whatever you like. You know, do the pizza thing, whatever you do you. So that's going into the oven. I heated the oven to 495 and I cooked for like 8 to 10 minutes. The recipe doesn't have the cooking instructions, which is kind of weird, but this turned out nice and good. The crust was nice and crusty, and I didn't show you the inside. That was my mistake. I didn't show you the inside, but here's our barbecue pizza. Barbecue chicken pizza with a leftover rotisserie chicken. Such a good, easy dinner, and I hope you guys enjoy the recipes for this week. Until the next one, take care and be well, and happy eating.